Your wives, your words, your wives, brothers, must hear good words, kind words, and must know of your good deeds. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this divine principle. For if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge for membership or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or for anything issued by the prophet. Those who contribute to either of their proceedings are not Moors, but robbers. Membership, sisters and brothers, is free, not only here, but all over the world. The button is 25 cents. The card is 25 cents, and 1 month's dues is paid. Every member pays 50 cents a month for his dues. This money goes towards the support of the temple. If Islam, this, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection that is provided for you. And especially if you are not working or in the position to work. If you neglect to fulfill this small duty assigned you, how can you rightfully expect money or other help when you are sick or otherwise disabled? And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down unto you by either prophet. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount from 25 to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues also go to the support of the temple and its domestic work. The head of every temple must by law obey the word of the prophet, and if any head, leader, or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge and is subject to enforcement by the law by the grand body. And the penalty may be a fine or removed from office or being placed under a heavy restriction of the law. Islam, that draw right there that the prophet had goes right in line with what you was demonstrating about, agents. The worst agent of all is the agent provocateur. He or she has no idea that they're even doing something wrong. So when you understand what the prophet brought us and you understand what the Moorish demonstration is, then you can understand how many agents we have out here that are agent provocateurs that have no idea that they're working against everything that we have. Islam, these so-called African American, Negro, Black leaders, Islam, how can they really guide us into the way if they don't have any knowledge of the structure of the Moorish Temple of America when it comes to laws and structural wise. How can you know, safeguard the demonstration from these agents? The only way is from what I just read from the prophet. That's foolproof right there. That means that people are gonna be held accountable. You know, I've been in temples where the Grand Sheik was the head, and none of the members had any numbers to contact anybody else if the Grand Sheik wasn't doing right. That's not how this. It's supposed to be checks and balances, Islam. If that Grand Sheik not acting right, then you should be able to go talk to somebody else over that. You should be able to counsel that you go talk to. Hey, this Grand Sheik is. I got a grievance, and it's supposed to be handled in that type of demonstration. You know, growing up in the inner city, there's a thing called snitches get stitches, Islam.
Mhm.
However, that's a whole nother paradigm, that's out there in Asia. We talking about in the garden. In the garden, snitches don't get stitches. In the garden, snitches get rewarded, but they're not even snitches though. That's a term that somebody made up. What happened to telling the truth? The absolute truth. In fact, as a Moor, you're supposed to be afraid to lie. Islam, you should be happy to tell the truth. You should be afraid to lie at the end of the day. So, praise Allah for what y'all doing. I'm on board with it with what y'all doing, because somebody had to run with the torch, Islam. When I came to the meeting, I seen the Mo with the torch, so I'm running right with the Mo, Islam. If anybody try to come extinguish the torch, they might catch some other kind of fire, Islam. So, Prophet Noble Ali said the fire was going to cut. The fire was going to touch a few of our good Moors' coattails, Islam. So that means when that fire hit that coattail, they're going to have to put that fire out with Prophet Noble Ali because he's going to be the water. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to use Prophet Noble Ali to guide us, Islam, to where we need to get to, Islam. And with that, I yield the floor more, Islam.
Islam. That was an excellent pregame for the meeting
Yeah,
starter.
that was nice, man. Islam, brother, Islam.
Islam. But yeah, that's all. It's all divine because that's the energy, and the instructions is already in place. Um, Once again, if we don't deviate, we'll be okay. Um, any thoughts before we get started with the demonstration for today?
I do have one more thought. I wanted to add on, because based on the instructions, yes, love, living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, that's important. But I feel that within the community society, that's why the missionary work is so important, right? Getting the information out there. And then also, like, not everyone's at that level to where they can meet those standards. Yeah, everyone's kind of still working on getting to that part. So I feel that there's a lot of different levels and steps to getting to that, if you know what I mean. So I think having different services, right? And pairing up with different organizations that can help get everyone up to speed, right? Because we have fallen, right? So that means that we need a lot of uplifting in that area where it comes to, like I said, working with organizations where we can reflect on our deeds and reflect on where we're at personally to see how we can live up to those standards, right? So I just wanted to add that in because it's a lot of work that has to be done to even get to speaking to these leaders, right? Because people will start to realize, like, you know what? You're right. I've been pushing this agenda, this whole Black agenda thing, but you know what? You're onto something. And then they start to switch over slowly. And hey, those nonprofits may not like it, whoever is in charge of giving them money and stuff like that. But that's where the work has to be done, getting into the colleges, working with organizations, doing presentations and things like that. So they can see the word, they can see what was left behind, and then they could make their own conclusions about it, right? Based on how we're coming about it and why it's so important. So I guess I just want to put that out there too, because I do agree that we do have to live by that and we have to study that, right? Whatever the prophet left behind. But it's just getting everyone up to speed in that area because everyone's at different levels, everyone that comes into the light. So I yield. I just want to put that out there.
It's fine. Let me know when y'all can see my screen that I'm about to share, the divine warning.
It's up there.
Wow. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that allude to slavery. The prophet was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens, according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion, but that there is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth. And it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I the prophet and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and their religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon the earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by the said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendment brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced in 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous government of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by my citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and the laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into the utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They would not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. but I've traveled in the South and I've examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing things that bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives a life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work, to bring my people out of darkness into the marvelous light. From the Prophet, Islam. Divine Constitution of Moorish America. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws. And all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you're a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, or Ethiopian, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by all governments of the earth, be recognized by the governments in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of the household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah, Islam. So today I had a demonstration queued up, as always. It's designed for ambassadorship, perspective, something in your toolbox to converse with the general public that we're ultimately trying to unite with. Also, as I'm hearing myself read the demonstration of the divine warning and the Constitution and bylaws, it's a tone setter. Basically, what we were talking about, checks and balances, like the brother R. Jones Bay was speaking on. Its instructions already laid out to keep us in check. Because after all, we are the flesh, and the flesh is not perfected. The goal is to reach the perfected man. So things to assist us to stay a pure and clean nation is a community of our people that are on the same page. Because what happens is, if I fall short, I got my brother or my sister there to be like, look, man, you falling off. You better than that, or you don't want to let your people down. Just simple as that. As this thing continues to grow, steel sharpens steel, just the sheer fact of knowing if my brother heard about what I'm doing, or what I did last night, it's gonna be looking. It ain't honorable. And it's not the end of the world. It's about just doing better though. But the fact that you having that thought of, man, I did wrong. I want to do better. Every day could be a renaissance, right? Or, so you get it right. String some days together. Now you got a week. Now you got a month. Now you got a year. Now you the noble, character wise, on all your dealings, right? So your sisters and brother help you purge to reach that too. That's another aspect, as well as the flat out lessons. That's what the lessons is for. That's what the holy books is for. Um, and community, you know. So I wanted to throw that in there. This demonstration today, what inspired is I was going through a book called White Slavery in the Barbary States. Um, and it was an image that I'm showing right here. Before we get into that, let's look at the title of the book, White Slavery in the Barbary States. What are the Barbary States? I've alluded to this a couple times, but you know, the Berbers, which is the Barbary, uh, it's just the Moors in the headquarters, which I call the Maghreb or the Americas, to about what they call West Africa, Mali, Barbary. And you got the Tartary with the more Asiatic, phenotypes, Genghis Khan and the crew, right? Pakistan, Hindustan, all that. Um, Tartary. So this book is called The Barbary States. And we have, blonde hair, blue eyed people. That stock of people were our Slavs. Now, that's a great book on that space if y'all trying to get clarity. I'm just coming from a specific lens for today's demonstration, but this is an excellent book to comprehend a lot of things on a lot of different levels. So what I want to highlight is the word Saracen. And then the Quran, how it's spelled with a K. It was fascinating that it's spelled with a K in this particular book. This author is not a Moorish author. But outside of that, most ancient spellings is with a K. But it's a lot of degrees with that, right? Just like you take the Holy Bible, take that to Helios Biblios, which is some book, astronomical book. Then you break the adept level comprehension of Quran, knowledge, order, rhythm, astronomy, and nature. So we back, charting the stars to chart yourself, right? So obviously, it's a lot of different degrees on a lot of different things. That's why they call things an adept situation versus a novice or whatnot. And we're always a student, right? So now let's get into Saracen. This is a highlight for today or for this particular space. I'm gonna highlight Saracen from the book that I highly recommend, Golden Age of the Moor. So obviously, Saracens was another nickname for the Moors, but we're gonna get into why. Just so we know, history and law go together. We want to know about the culture. We want to know our history. We want to know about from our general rules to our way of life as a nationality of people that goes back to time immemorial. This is the whole point. So while many scholars generally agree that the word Saracen is of Afro-Asiatic origin, now keep in mind this author, he is not a proclaimed Moor. He's going to use some connotative linguistics. This is for cross-referencing what we already know, or not, for example, as Noble Jew Ali uses the term Asiatic, for example. Activating Circle 7, Quran, divinely prepared by Noble Jew Ali, divine origin of the Asiatic nation. Why is he using that as a term? Now, we're cross-referencing material that's not necessarily in the Moorish paradigm. And they're saying Saracen is Afro-Asiatic. We know Afro is a misnomer. We get that. But when we're making our case to the people or showing people just common sense things that are international and well known across the world, we just want to make parallels of the Moorish paradigm what Noble Jew Ali brought, and how Noble Jew Ali was actually connecting us to a greater empire. He was prepping us Just like I always like to say, if the one-on-ones talk about a sultan is a Moorish ruler, he's pointing you to empire. Analyze what were we doing? How was the government structure when we had sultans all across the world, right? Even analyze the pictures of the convention. Zoom in on that. Look how they dressed. It's not even like it was everybody wasn't wearing just feathers. It was like some cold Moorish drip. Like zoom them pictures up, men and the women. Like he was the last sultan in North America. I'm telling you, they cropped the picture, so you ain't even seeing how big these national conventions. They cropping the picture. It get wider. I keep telling y'all. But anywho, so um Saracen, Afro-Asiatic. This author saying Easterner, but he just speculating. Now, what else I want to highlight? All right, the origin of the nickname Sarah, Saracen comes from the name Sarah. All right, so even though we know these are melanated people, the people that have been tagged Greek and Roman, they were taking notes from the original people that was keeping the culture with were nicknamed Egyptians. And most of the time when you hear this, this is just the Moors that kept the covenant versus the ones I wanted to do, do the Roman thing. These Roman Moors were still taking notes from the Moors I was keeping the old time religion intact under the Sultanate and all this type of stuff, right? So they nickname our people the Saracens. Now, but that origin is from a Sarah, which is Abraham's wife. Now we're talking about holy books. Now, most of our people are Christian. But before I get into that, can y'all see the book? Because last time I went back on the Zoom, I was like, I should have blew the book up a little more. Is everybody seeing where I'm looking at as far as Saracen and its origin, who are now called Saracens, taking themselves named Sarah? All right, so I'm not just making this up. I'm also um we're gonna get into Ishmael and Hagar, but whoever hasn't heard of that story or who doesn't know who Abraham is, this is anybody that that's Christian, Muslim, and are devout. They know all the scriptures and all that. They know about
He's a
Abraham.
civilization.
Say that again.
He's the father. He's supposedly the father of civilization. Correct.
Right. That's a good summary of how they look at him. All right. So he had a wife. Sarah is first introduced in the book of Genesis as the wife of Abraham, right? And is recognized for her beauty and strong character. Um, she was faced with problems of infertility, which means she couldn't have a child, but eventually she was able to have a child. And here are some bullet points. Sarah means princess or mother of nations, signifying her role as the mother of nations. Um, the promise to Isaac, God promised Abraham that Sarah would bear a son, Isaac, despite her age and that she was barren. So eventually, well, first, they had a maidservant, Hagar, and she gave birth to a child for Abraham since Sarah couldn't have a child. And that was where you get Ishmael. Um, and then fast forward, ultimately, she was able to have a child, Isaac. All right, so that's some backstory. Now, it's a lot of different levels. It's a lot of symbolic expressions. It's actually real accounts of people and our ancestors. Just um, all kind of in one. So she represents a matriarch. She represents a noble nature. And when we looked up the Kabbalion a couple temple meetings ago, we talked about how Thoth or Tahuti principles are what Abraham um, resonated with. So when you tie all this together, and we just last week, Hermetic astrology and know thyself, and this is the old time religion. We're getting into the nitty gritty of what is the old time religion. Um, Obviously, noble nature, that trying to aim to the higher self, but also the sciences and how things work on the planet. Um, so at this time, that's what Ishmael, Sarah, they represent the forefathers, the blueprint, the measurement of these things. So when you're talking to our brothers that are just heavily into Christianity, let them know that the Circle Seven got Jesus as the headliner. Let them know. Well, for the same reason, I like to do this demonstration for our Christian brothers as far as what I'm talking about right now. And speaking of the Moors, a lot of people, the general public, they know about the Moors from some think it's just a religion, some know it's a nationality. It's a lot of different spaces. So, but they're not being spoken to in this lens, in this intricate way. So this is just another thing to add to the tool belt to demonstrate with, because we want to meet the people where they're at. So now you know Saracen as a nickname, and why that nickname came about. Okay. Another thing I wanted to highlight actually, oh, Byzantine right here. So and I'm gonna cross-reference this with the one-on-ones. So the people that they're tagging Saracens is the only one on the record to go to war with Byzantine, or what they call the Punic Wars. So when I'm appealing to my brothers that are in the Christian circles, since I know they're pro Jesus, I understand that they know how Rome killed Jesus, or the Romans, right? So I like to make the parallel that we're on the same team because we're not with the Roman culture. All right, so you got the one-on-ones, right? When was the head of Satan taken off 1453 Byzantine by Muhammad the Conqueror? Christina Pink told us 20 days removed from surgery is Herbert. Peace and love to Javier. So the reason I would reference that is to let them know and put their guard down if it was, with an intelligent tone, by the way, that, oh yeah, you know, we with that, we're pro the lessons of Jesus. And when you hit them with something like that, they be like, okay, I'm more interested to see what y'all talking about. So these are just suggestions. I'm not sure about the brother Javier, but I think it's the brother I met doing the pop-up shop in Hawthorne. That was my first time there. I could be wrong. All right. Any thoughts on that before I transition to some more Moorish history?
I have a question.
Mhm.
So when you're saying they're talking about Sarah, you're saying that's coming from Saracen? That's where they get that in the Bible from Sarah?
Yeah, yeah. So that the nickname they call our people Saracen, that's a nickname, because they know we come from the line of Sarah, like we the original people. The Moors are the original people of the planet that had habits and customs that got passed down. So they'll remember these Moors was like the mulatto Moors, these Romans. I did hit record. Let me see.
Yeah, you did.
Um,
So this.
it's
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, brother.
yeah,
Um.
yeah. Oh, go on ahead. I'm sorry.
So Mapi, so that's why they called her Sarah because she's the mother of civilization. Basically, that's what they claim it. So, and the Sarah, however you pronounce that, Seraphines. How
Saracen.
did you pronounce that word?
Saracen.
Saracen. Okay. So Saracen. Okay, so cool. So the Saracens are the original people of the earth. So that's why in the scripture they put the mother of civilization as Sarah. That's what I'm getting from your lesson. Is that correct?
Right, and a Saracen is a nickname for the Moors. So yeah,
In the golden age of the Moors.
yeah. This because remember
Right.
this book is called The Golden Age of the Moors. So all we talking about is Moors and their nicknames with it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, to add on to what you said, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to add in that Moor means Westerner. So if you research Moor in Phoenician, well, excuse me, the word Mahurin in Phoenician etymology, that means Westerner. And then if you study the Maharim in in the Semitic etymology, that means people up the west where the sun set. I just thought that was fascinating that Moor actually means Westerner. I yield. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, and that's what Maghrib. When you say Maghrib, that's what that is. You know, the extreme west, Morocco, extreme west, the Maghrib Al Aqsa. And remember all them demonstrations in the last temple meetings where we cross reference to the wheels fell off. Every time you look up more, they're gonna say northwest this, northwest, 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 northwest. And at this time, when they're speaking of the Moors, that jurisdiction wasn't created, the Middle East. Even when Noble Jew Ali is waving the flag and he's telling you red flag, green 5 point star, the Kingdom of Morocco didn't exist at that time, right? So, and he's telling you,
Islam. That's an excellent.
yeah, and he's telling you there's not a Back to Africa movement. You gotta listen to what he's saying. He's not talking about over there. You know what I mean? And he was Cherokee. He made it clear he was Cherokee, right? So,
Islam. Those are excellent points. Excellent points.
mhm.
Islam.
Mhm. What was her name before Sarah? You said her name was spelled differently. Is it how would you pronounce
But still,
Sarah?
Sarah, it was just a different bow. I think
Saria.
something, yeah. But it was Sarah was the bottom. That's at the bottom,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then they mentioned in the Quran too, right? Hagar.
Yes, that's what I was gonna get into. She met her. She okay. So yes, she pointed out something that she saw earlier in the Golden Age of the Moor about Sarah and Hagar. I mean, well, what the bullet points of Sarah, right?
Mhm.
Hagar, right? So now, when you go to the Circle Seven, that's why we say stick to the lessons because look, the divine origin of the Asiatic nations, the Egyptians who were the Hamitites and the direct descendants of Mizraim, and the Arabians, the seed of Hagar. This whole chapter in the Circle Seven is breaking down all the Muslims on the whole planet, even from the North, South, Central America, the Colombians. He breaking down the whole Asiatic origin. It's connected, right? See how it's connected now?
Mhm.
Islam, RG Bay. I mean, R. Jones Bay, Islam.
Islam. The demonstration when Prophet Noble Ali was on a manifest and the physical, he was dealing with different maps, different laws. The 1933 demonstration that had happened. We were still going through the tearing and disassemble of the Reconstruction. So while he was teaching, the educational system and everything else and all the maps was changing. So, like you said, extreme west, the Maghrib district of Morocco. When you go to these Middle Easterns and demonstrate that measure of saying that, this is old Morocco and this is the Maghrib district, or like you say, the setting of the sun, all of those things, is we Prophet Noble Ali was referring to ancient times and maps. Islam, just like you have the county of Los Angeles. You have Los Angeles County. One is older than the other, Islam. So we have to be mindful of the time frame and what was going on when he was teaching Islam. Because you're right. This place is not known to the people that's already here. We don't know. Our people don't even know the truth about the history of the country. And when they do find out, everything will be more clear. Islamism. Before.
Islam. And then she made up the correlation. So I wanted to just show a visual as far as we looked up the Saracen and the origin of Sarah, and then we looked up the bullet points of Sarah, and she couldn't bear a child. So she used Hagar, which was the maidservant to the family, um, to give birth to Ishmael. So now let's go back to the circle 7. So we can see this not only on key 3, see the Hagar in that demonstration. We go down to key 7. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God Allah. So you see that it's all connected. And you see where Noble Jew Ali mind was at. Look what he's connecting you to. Right? You know what I mean? Right? So this is different from black culture, right? This is more culture. All right, so let's go back. Where was we at here? So I wanted to go into Saint Maurice. I love using the Saint Maurice demonstration with a lot of our people that are from Europe. No matter what skin tone they are from or they have, because I posted on Instagram, it was a lady darker than me. She was from Britain, and she knew about the coat of arms and the Moors out there. So the Moors are Aboriginal indigenous to these areas where most people think is blind hair, blue eyed people. When most people hear the Europeans, they thinking blind hair, blue eyed in this society. That's the way they've been groomed. So I like using this demonstration for people that are from Germany, England, British, Netherlands, Ireland, all that type of stuff. Because people come to my table, they buy things, they see the signs and symbols. Oh, what's this organization about? What's Khalifa Society about? And then I go into the measure, and I let them know how it's a humanitarian movement and how anybody can play their part or put energy into it. It's not a black movement. And then some Albions have been my best supporters. Every time I see them, they're at the table buying something. They're like, yeah. So it's crazy. So, but you have to know the information first to even do the measure, right? So, once again, I like to use Saint Maurice for that. So, this author saying the Black Saint Maurice, we are, um, the name Maurice is derived from Latin and means like a Moor. So when they say culture is in the language, here's an example. Maurice, anybody named Maurice, now you know it's Moorish. It's a Moorish origin. And I know a lot of Maurices. You know what I mean? But the fact that we didn't know our culture like that, we don't see the stuff right in front of us. It's like it's hidden in plain sight. So it's like you got Lee, you got Ming and Chang or Khan. If you just blindfolded and you hear somebody like, oh, you're gonna be like, oh, you're gonna draw certain conclusions about where they're from, right? So Maurice is Moorish. All right, in general. All right, so uh, he's regarded the greatest patron saint of the Holy Roman Empire. So, of course, there's levels to this. I raised awareness to show that as melanated people, that was the noble families, the people that were being praised as saints and all this stuff. by the Slavs or the blind blue-eyed people. That's why we're on the coat of arms and all the crests and all that stuff. But when you get deeper into it, we had Moors that weren't practicing the Muslim creed or Islamic creed. They were considered to be Romans. And he was part of the Roman Empire because the Romans were Moors too. That had a change of heart. And these mulatto Moors specifically wanted to go to war with their fathers. And because they, we impregnated the Slavs. And now they tripping on the conditions of their mother and they want to go to war with the father. That was one of the motivations of the whole Roman thing in the first place. Right. And they was trying to run from the discipline too. They want to do their own thing, being the lower self, running government in lower self. The few control the many, secret societies, homosexuality, all this type of stuff is a Roman culture. And it wasn't blonde hair, blue eyed people, it was Roman culture. So that means it was Moors that popped it off and taught their Slavs how to move like this and all this. Right? Islam, Tabar, Islam.
Islam, this is Sister Tabara Parker L. This reminds me of how sometimes when Brother R. Jones Bay, he's talking to like clients or people about more science, he'll bring up a queen named Queen Europa. She was a melanated Moorish queen, and that's where they got the name Europe from. So that tells you who the original people of Europe are, Islam.
Islam.
We are the original people of all the land.
Islam. That's another great one to cross-reference what we're talking about. And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's a great example. And I believe her daughter, Queen Dodo, was the first matriarch of Carthage. When you talk about the Moors that had formed of Carthage and the Moors that was going to war with the Romans since the BC time. This is descendant of that. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. International perspective on what we're doing.
It's a lot of infighting.
A lot of infighting. But at least if the general public know the exact account of how things have happened, we won't be so like, oh my God, the white man's oppressing me, and that's the reason. And it's bigger than that. We need to unite, get back on higher principles, and understand how we failed so we won't do it again. I'm kind of bullet pointing, but obviously there's more to that, but that's the bottom, somewhat the bottom line. Yeah, so okay, Maurice was a high official in the Bede region of Egypt, an early center of Christianity. Specifically, Maurice was the commander of a Roman legion of Christian soldiers stationed in Africa. By the decree of the Roman Emperor Maximum, his contingent of 6,600 men was dispatched to Gaul in order to suppress a Christian uprising there. Maurice disobeyed the orders. Subsequently, he and almost all of his troops were martyred when they chose to die rather than persecute Christians, renounced their faith, and sacrificed to their gods, the Romans. The execution of the Theban legion occurred in Switzerland. So I wanted to get like a synopsis. I don't go into this whole piece, but now you know who Saint Maurice is. The reason he's considered a saint by most Coptic Christians is for that reason. He didn't follow the instructions of the Roman emperor at that time. Because of the morality behind it, he didn't feel it was just. All right. Very dark, melanated brother. So I wanted to go into that, and then I wanted to go into the brother Sir Morian, nicknamed the Black Knight, just like the movie that Martin Lawrence played in. So, few documents portray the ethnicity of the Moors in medieval Europe with more passion, boldness, and clarity than Morian. Morian is another name, by the way, just like Maurice. That's a Moorish name. Look up the Mauryan dynasty. You're gonna see that's the Moors that had sultans in Hindustan and Pakistan and Malaysia and Laos and The Moors over there, turban and fezed up too. The Mauryan dynasty. Just a little side note. All right, so Mauryan is a metrical romance rendered into English prose from the medieval Dutch version of Lancelot. And in Lancelot occupies more than 5,000 lines and forms the ending of the first exit volume of that compilation. Let me scroll down to, okay, so I'm going down to the second paragraph right here to the juicy part. Mauryan is the adventure of a splendidly heroic Moorish knight, possibly Christian convert, supposed to have lived during the days of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Mauryan is described as follows. He was all black. Yeah, yeah. So that's enough. That's enough. So the reason why this is important, most people, especially Europeans, know about King Arthur and all these knights and all this type of stuff. King Arthur and the Round Table and all this type of stuff, right? So I like to meet people where they at. Oh, and let them know. Oh, all the knights at this time was melanated people. And matter of fact, blonde hair, blue eyed people at this time was just the Slavs. They were in the peasant class. We were the royal families with an intelligent tone. They're gonna see you as an ambassador for an organization. They asking you, oh, what's a Moor? What's this about? What's Moorish? This is a Moorish organization. What's that? What's the you know, you can skin the cat a lot of different ways. Um, and right here, Morian is simply called the Moor. All right, so I won't go into too more heavier on that. I want to go to another aspect of my demonstration. But more things to add to your toolbox. That was something else.
Islam Mafia. I got a question and a comment at the same time. So, as a young study more, you know what I'm saying. I understudy more. Apologize, I'm not young, but you know, how would I see? I'm listening to everything you've been telling me, everything you've been teaching me, and everything I've been learning. But it's hard to kind of divert from the fact of a person feeling like I'm trying to not make them feel like it's a movement of melanated people when really the basis, the foundation is for every walk of life to know that we are the original people. So wouldn't that seem offensive to someone, let's say, that think and know that they're the original European or whatever the case may be, or the Asian people or whatever, and you bring forth this stuff to their attention, they still gonna, wouldn't it be safe to say they still gonna feel like, oh, it's like a black movement, some type of thing like that? You know what I'm saying? How would you avoid that when that is like the ground foundation of you reaching these people, is letting them know like, hey, we was here before you? But some small-minded people will get offended by that. And I yield. Islam.
Islam. So I know but you Ali said intelligent tone, facts, and it's not for everybody. Keep that in mind too. From my tenure with dealing with the general public in that space, blind or blue-eyed people, that are 80% are open to that when I get into that space. Um, so I will say, I think you'll get it'll be receptive because, like I say, when I set up, I'm selling my merch. Um, a lot of my repeat customers are, like I say, lighter skinned people, people that will be classified or looked at as being white, um, quote unquote, Latino. So, and they're reoccurring based on the information I gave them. They like, oh man, that brother, his mind different. It's not just a vendor over here. He represents something that's uh Islam or Jones Bay.
Islam to the brother. So usually when I run into people who not us Islam, whether they European, Asian, wherever. It could be, Negro. You want to meet them where they at. So if you know anything about ancient Asia, anything about ancient Europe, anything about the ancient time, you want to go way back and connect with them there and then bring them to the present. That'll tie you in. So I was born in Inglewood, California, Republic of Islam. You have to know a little bit of Spanish. I could count in Spanish before I can count in English. So if you go to them and you let them know, oh, you got brown pride, yeah, 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 yeah. Your ancestors Moreno and all. So you tie it in. Whether the Asians know that their ancestors are the dark melanated person. The people know. So when you go to them with the ancient demonstration and show yourself there, like and go to the stores. Oh, you are you from Hindustan? Oh my God, how do you know this place? Oh, my ancestors named that place Hindustan. Yes, that's oh my God. And you talking to them with love as nurturing, they're gonna be receptive of what you're saying. That's why he demonstrated. Prophet Noble said, act those with an intelligent tone, and you'll get a favorable reply. If you come to him tomorrow, wait a minute, well, we was brown before, and all of that, it's gonna be different because now you coming to him kind of hostile, or you coming to him with your nose up, or you think you better than them. When you come being so humble and so loving and so nurturing as a teacher, trying to teach a baby, because the world is baby to us, then the delivery gonna hit them like the parent hits the child, and they gonna be happy that the parent came back into the house.
Islam,
Islamism. Yeah.
Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something I want to say.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So just coming from a perspective of my family is Vietnamese, right? And what's happened over time is the same thing getting cut from our roots. And so, unfortunately, a lot of Vietnamese people don't know their own history. So, I agree with R. Jones Bay is like studying the history and going back to ancient roots to where you can dig that up and show them in real time because you're showing them information they didn't even know, right? There's generations that have been cut and information that's been twisted, right? When it comes to like Asiatic people, whether it's Vietnamese, Chinese, or whatever. And that's what I'm seeing out here, even with my own family, But I have to say that we have some kind of understanding because when we lived over in New York, there was a melanated brother out there that spoke no English. He spoke Vietnamese. He was our neighbor. So we know that there's different shades of people, even within our culture. And that's just, if we didn't see that, if we didn't know him at all, we wouldn't have not known because we grew up in the city, right? The whole thing with the war and the drugs, same story happened over in Vietnam. Everyone got transferred to New York, right? So I agree. I just wanted to add that in there and just meeting them where they're at and then taking them back to ancient roots.
Islam. And law and history go together. And you just knowing your culture. That's what it comes down to. We understand the culture and how Moors were worldwide. You can't box us into no one jurisdiction. We're not just from North Africa. We're just in Spain. That's the commercial narrative. So, but at the same time, it's no debate because when you speak with people from the East, like Noble Joe Ali quoted, our brothers from the East are going to assist, paraphrasing. And once again, that don't mean we got to go to the East and link up with them. They already here. There's Chinatown here. There's Koreatown here. There's Little Bangladesh here. Little Saigon already here. It's people that's showing that they got culture and got communities already in America. Once the Negro wake up, Harama Biff, wake up, come out the casket, understand his nationality and illustrious culture. Now, people that already got understand culture, you can link up with them. It's a bigger network. Now you got the whole international aspect about how our expansion can be because we in our higher self. We honor our mothers and fathers. We respect ourselves. The importance of culture, habits and customs, businesses established, get natural resources. We constantly building every month that pass. We incrementally talking about goals and achieving them. And then once we achieve them, guess what? There's more goals for the upliftment of the people. That's the covenant. That's what the covenant is in all these holy books. That is the covenant. Good dealing with your love for your brothers and sisters and expansion. Because it's an action word. Nationality. Okay, once you declare, that's cool. But are you active? I mean, these are the lingo, Noble Joe Ali. Active, not passive. But when you're active, that just means you're part of the affairs of your nation state for the upliftment. Now you're playing an active role in it. You can just declare your nationality and sit back. That's better than not. That's cool. But you're gonna take it to another level is the question that everybody would need to ask themselves. Um, but I wanted to get into Berber because that was actually the other aspect of my demonstration when we're dealing with people that are classified as Middle Eastern. Once again, there's people darker than me that are classified as Middle Eastern from Yemen, uh, Pakistan, um, Saudi Arabia, Iran, um, what they call North Africa today. It's people that look just like me and you, and they understand Berber. When you say Berber, oh, we the Moors. Like say they come to my table, they see they want to buy some merch, they see the books, they see the Moor signs and symbols. Oh, you Moroccan, right? You are you Muslim? Assalamu alaikum, brother. Like dark as me, but they from Yemen, they from Bangladesh or somewhere. And once again, oh no, we the ancient Berbers. Because I've done this. I'm saying this for a reason because and they understand like, oh, you're Berber, not like you're not saying your kingdom of Morocco, which is has a heavily French influence today, the Pale Arab. You're saying Berber, so that means you're going back to the Maghreb. They already understand that. They already our brothers from that part of the world. When you start speaking like that, they already know. Oh, I see what your organization is about, right? So I wanted to throw that in there if y'all didn't know, and that's where you get Barbary from, and that's the whole one of the reasons why I cross referenced this book. Um, white slavery in the Barbary states. All right, so let's get into the origins of Berber. Um, we can actually go down to right here, 108. Once again, Berber and other groups of the Afro-Asiatic dialects. They go to Asiatic thing. We know Afro is a misnomer, but Asiatic, we're talking about Berbers. The word and roots, Bur and Bar. So the reason I'm going into that's where you get Barbary from. Those are the ancient Berbers, the Canaanites, the Cushites. Because go back to the holy books, Ham and Cush. Berbers, Saracens are Cushites. Canaanites. Back to the lessons, right? Noble Joe Ali had the old Canaanite temple before it was the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and the Moorish Science Temple, right? He tried to connect us. No, he did. He didn't try. He actually actively did connect us and establish something that we can um, be inspired and have progress with right now today. So when we're saying Canaanites, the most famous map I like using. Let's bring the map up. Oh man, I gotta go back from the beginning. So that's crazy. Okay, I showed the map last week. So, but when I was showing the separation I did the demonstration from the Holy Book from the separation of Ham and Cush, and then I brought up the globe, separating the land of Canaan and all this stuff. We're talking about what they misnomer Canada today, all of North America, Central America, South America, the islands. This was Northwest of Mexico. We did the demonstration multiple times. Um, so tie it all into this right here and cross-reference it. Berber, Saracen, Moor, line of the Cushites, Hammatites. It's all Moorish paradigm. That was my point. That's what I wanted to highlight too. Also the fact that right here where it says Libyans and Moors. So, back to these like associated name things, right? Like the Carthaginians, you know, the Mayans, because they practice Maya. It's a bunch of the Egyptians. It's a bunch of nicknames for the Moors. Um, if one reason why it's a bunch of them to throw you off, you'll start thinking that they're different people. So that's a whole another reason why we're going through this space, because our people get confused like that. These are all just Moors in a different time period, right? So Libyan, another one. All right, so now that that's and since that's on my mind, let me go to the definition of Africa once again. We've done this multiple times, but let's reference Noble Jew Ali when he's telling you Africa is not, it doesn't exist. The true and divine name is Amexem. All right. Um, Africa, Latin. So it's a Latin word. The Moors were the ones speaking Latin. So the Moors created a term, Africa, for a designation, a certain designation. So we're not African. That's a word that the Moors created and established to represent a Carthaginian territory that represents Tunis or Libyan. So once again, Phoenician. As long as you don't get tricked to be like, oh, Phoenician, who was that? Carthaginian? Oh, them different people too? Now you're on the right page. So the Latin speakers, the Moors, created a jurisdiction. But later, it gradually was extended to the whole continent. Most people think, oh, that's Africa. But the whole world is Africa because it means terra. Terra just means land. All right. But Northwest Africa, you're standing on it if you're in North America, if you're looking at it from that context. So Africa just means earth, terra, Tori. The whole world is Africa if you're looking at it from that context. I know the Cyprio Africanus and all that, you know, but this is linguistics now. We're dealing with linguistics. Africa is the Latin that goes to terra, that means earth. Simple. The northwest side of the planet, northwest Amexem, we're dealing with the headquarters, all the oldest pyramids in the world. Old Mecca, not new Mecca. You don't gotta make a pilgrimage to Mecca. That's new. Old Mecca, the old Mex, the Al-Marushi clan, the people that practice Mayat, the Mayans, all them ancient pyramids is over here. In Ham's jurisdiction. Remember we did the demonstration? Ham jurisdiction is older over here. And then Kush traveled east and spread the culture to the Tartarian side. So hopefully, you can add some things to your tool belt in this space, in this regard as well. Okay, so also when they do the Afro-Asiatic, this word is Afro-Asiatic, they also do Semitic. I'm afraid to question to the chat. Are y'all familiar with what Semitic means? Oh, here we go. So these Afro-Semitic people, so not only are they saying Berbers or Moors or Afro-Asiatic, but they're also Afro-Semitic. We already know Afro is a misnomer. What is Semitic? Let's look at it this way. What does it mean to be anti-Semitic? Oh, if you anti-Semitic, that means you got hatred toward the Jews. So if Moors are Semitic and they spoke Semitic languages, what is that? That means the Moors was the Jews? That's safe to say? All right, so this is another angle for missionary work when we're speaking on how you feel about this whole Jew thing and intelligent tone, cross-reference, and lay your case about what's really going on. You don't got to say, "Oh, we're the real Jews," and it ain't about it's intelligent tone, scholarly, I got a hand in the chat. Islam, Empress.
Islam, what is a Semite?
Um, they're gonna say from a son, of Shem, from the line of Shem. Matter of fact, I just saw that too. Let's look that up. Islam, are you raising your hand again? Or you got the floor. Let me see.
Islam, I yield the floor.
Oh, Islam. And I just looked it up. Semitic definition, or so the term is derived from Shem, one of the three sons of Noah in the Bible, um, and has been used to describe various people, including right the Canaanites and the Phoenicians. So you know we're the original people of the planet are the original Jews. So I like the latest foundation because it's better than just saying we the original Jews. That's than the fake ones. We just want to demonstrate it um, through intelligence. Did anybody else? Am I missing somebody? Somebody else had a thought on this space? Okay. So that was another thing I wanted to bullet point for y'all toolbox because you're gonna get hit with the general public. I'm telling you, they're gonna come with a lot of different angles, and the more polished you are as a statesman or ambassador or a citizen of a nation state, the better.
I want to add something in.
Oh, go ahead.
From the BPS book that we're reading, The Blackstone Nation, we read that when they started to change the organization to like a more religious and they started to study and practice Islam, he actually started to take it more to international level and he started to partner up with, you said the Prince of Libya?
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi. There you go. So I guess I want to just throw that in there because I seen that Libya and Moors or Libyan and Moors, and that's kind of where they were trending towards. But a lot has transpired, and we're gonna read more about that, right, with the BPS and everything. But
That's an excellent point. I didn't even. That was an excellent thing she just said as far as how interchangeably Moor and Libyan. Gaddafi was the head of state of Libya. He owned his body politic, government structure, on all the natural resources. No foreigners was over there. The people of the land was running the show. Gold back currency. Um, their own military. The people of the land is running the show. So Jeff Fort, when the BPSs, the Black Peace Stones turned, Jeff Fort went to jail. He turned it Islamic. He tried his best to keep it pure as possible. Um, he developed more international relationships now that he's in this noble capacity as the Moorish Science Temple. That once they were turned El Rukns, that's what they were. They were El Rukns. They were a Moorish Science Temple. It was no longer BPS.
is there a photo of that?
Yeah, it's a photo in that book we got. Um, so under that jurisdiction, relationships were being made with Gaddafi. Gaddafi was funding the temple, helping the temple out with you know, like the divine warning, right? It takes money, it takes finance to raise a nation. Gaddafi understood that. He liked what was going on. Um, and remember, before it got criminalized, they were like the Black Panthers and like the Vice Lords and all that. They were in the community uplifting as far as, like I say, feeding the people, preventing police brutality, securing the neighborhoods. Um, it was an empowerment element, but they just weren't talking about culture. And then some of them went to criminal activity, unfortunately. So at this period, this was the first time that they took it to the nationality level. So they were already organized. See, that's another. There's a lot of elements that's interesting in this Jeff Ford story, Chief Malik. Um, is that they were already organized, they fell into their lower self, then bounced back to a higher self than it was in the beginning. Then they had a little tenure with international play, and then they fell again. Um, so that's a very interesting period, but it's still information to know because it's gonna come a time where I'm actually dealing with one person from that area out here. They're actually it's a BPS in LA, but they're looked at as bloods and stuff like that. They're not nowhere near where they were. And the couple members I did talk to, they keep telling me, man, you got to talk with the elders about that one. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I remember telling you, yeah, that was out there. And I was trying to have them be on one of the podcasts talking about the connection to the Moors. But it is one brother, like I said, it was a brother that was on here maybe 2 weeks ago. He's in the Seer, Dukatir Simple. We're going to be working together. We're going to do something at their park to raise awareness on that. And so yeah. But any thoughts on that before I transition to the next space of my demonstration?
They came from Chicago. BPS is from Chicago, and they came this way.
Right. Yeah, that organization started in Chicago. And then, yeah, they branched out. So the Fulani tribe came across my radar. These were Moors in, I guess they call it West Africa. And I'm looking at the attire. And I'm thinking about Raiden and Mortal Kombat. I'm thinking about just this headdress that are typically associated with what? Asian or Asia.
Straw hat.
Yeah. But it's all Moorish culture. So I wanted to highlight that too. And a lot of the things that these clan of Moors were into, such as pottery, when you start investigating like the Pueblos, indigenous tribe in Central America, the Arawaks and Taínos, different tribes were into pottery. And you start seeing the dress code of the indigenous tribes in the Americas, the Moors, and you start seeing the dress code of the Moors in what they call West Africa. You start like, dang, look at the same thing. So I think that's a great segue to this book. The Moorish Paradigm. It's 13 volumes of this book. But what I wanted to show is when you're looking at the Mayan, civilization, you start seeing their dress. That's what I'm talking about. They were wearing the same thing in West Africa. So I got a question in the chat. Let me see. Like somebody, did I miss something? Check the chat real quick. Somebody had a piece of it. Oh, so that's why they killed it. Who you talking about, Hassan? Who they killed?
Gaddafi, when you were speaking on Gaddafi, that's when I wrote that.
Yeah. Even with that, sellouts, because he was actually insulated by like he was finna unite with like 15 African countries. And one of
Correct. And the power that be here was upset about that, and that's why they plotted his demise because his money was backed by gold. He was doing a lot of right things for the people, like they didn't have they didn't have to pay for education, all that stuff. Like he was doing a lot of things that was positive, but they didn't put that in the limelight. They put it in the limelight like he was an evil person. But I think the powers that be got him up out of here because he was in the way. What he was doing and what he was on his way was doing, this country's corporation wouldn't have been the superpower no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Islam, R. Jones Bay.
Islam. Yeah, Gaddafi was doing some great works. He was uniting Africa. He was fronting the finances to bring them into their own central bank. But like you said, they painted a bad picture of Mo after I believe it was America has sent some missionaries over there to do some work with helping the children out with the vaccinations. And some of those aides ended up injecting some of the children, I believe, with AIDS or HIV. And Gaddafi had them executed for that. And they brung charges up on him like you can't be killing Americans or whatever. So they used that to go to war and try to go get him. So they had been trying to get him, but after he did that and was trying to, demonstrate the measure on the finance, they had to remove him, unfortunately, under the tenure of the Kenyan American Islam.
Yeah. Wow.
Floor.
Yeah, unfortunate. But yeah, so put all this together with the El Rukins, um, even that's another story, but I won't get into the intricacies. But Gaddafi gave Farrakhan some money in the 90s, same thing, on the same tip. It was supposed to be for the upliftment. Um, so yeah, Gaddafi's on record of trying to assist, upright organizations in America, as well as the great work that he did over there. So, they're not going to talk about him 100 years from now in the school books and all that, but we got to talk about our leaders in our schools, children growing up in our institutions. We have to let them know what's going on around the world and what happened because it's all inspiration. Um, with the visual that I'm showing right now, I'm doing a parallel between, because we brought up the Fulanis and how they had anybody play Mortal Kombat, the brother Raiden, the straw hat. Um, but they have a connection to the Americas, and you can see it all through the attire, the language, etc. So this is an example of the Mayans, and this is actually called an Alamazar. Uh, I think his Arjun Bay, your hands, it was still up from the last time, or you got another demonstration?
Islam, no, I'm done. Islam.
Oh, it's not. Um, so let's look at the Alamazar. So this whole waistband, how it cover, and even in Masonic lodges, there were something similar. And for them, they want to, master their lower self. That's an expression of that as well. That's another demonstration on that. But culturally, this is what it was. And as you can see, the Mayans have the same thing that the quote unquote, they'll call these people Egyptian, ancient Egyptian clothing. They'll summarize it like that. But this is, Alamazar, worn by the Mayans, worn by the people of Mali, the Mali Empire, West Africa. So you have to ask yourself, I thought these were two different people. So we're just putting things out here to show that we were connected, communicating with each other. It's a book called by Ivan Van Sertima, The Ancient African Presence in Early America. He talks about how the Sultan before Mansa Musa, Abu Bakari, traveled over here already, been traveling and communicating with the Moors out here. It wasn't a separate thing like that. So let's get into the spiritual significance of the Alamazar, or essentially waist chains. So waist chains, also known as waistbands, or today waist beads, right? It's a trendy thing now. See how the ancient stuff is coming back. Have a rich history and are often associated with spiritual significance. They have been used in various ancient civilizations, including quote unquote Egypt, India, and Rome. In ancient Egypt, waist chains were worn by both men and women as symbols of status and wealth, often crafted from precious metals. Um, oh yeah, the second half is really important too. So traditionally worn by women to enhance feminine energy and are often associated with various Hindu deities. Rhythmic movement of waist chains is thought to align the wearer with the universal flow of energy, creating spiritual synergy. So we did things with intention to activate the heavens of within, to higher self, alignment. Um, Same thing like our headdress, matriarchal in origin, cosmological in origin, astrological in origin, right? The pharaohs getting buried in all the gold. Why was we wearing gold so heavy? Was it just because it looked good, or did it have healing properties? Right? Like I always say, when you look through a microscope, bacteria can't live on gold, silver, copper. There's a lot of, you can also magnetize. So more culture. That's all we're getting into is knowing the culture because we are the ancestors in real time. So we got to demonstrate the culture in today, and we will be in a different class as the nobles, the noble families, the royal families. Because how did they get that title? Oh, the nobles. Because most of them was in their higher self and had high. Not only were they smart as far as knowing all the sciences, but the dealings with noble, higher self activity. Um, so let's go back to the book. So that's an Alamazar. The Mayan noble is wearing an Alamazar. Now you know the significance. Let's look in the chat. We got some activity here. Uh, We got two hands. We got R. Jones Bay and the Empress. So I don't know who want to go first. I forgot. I didn't even see who hand was up first. So how about Bar?
Islam, since we're talking about dress, I wanted to talk about the science of the turban. This is something that they teach in the Sisters Auxiliary. When the turban is worn by Moabite women as an honor to their crown, it signified that she was the personification of divinity because she wrapped her crown chakra to guard this spiritual seat from infiltration by outside influencing source forces. The word turban comes from the Old Persian word doban, pronounced Dulban. The word Dulban means rose petal. This word was chosen for the head wrap because the folds of the turban resemble the petals of a rose. The rose is also an emblem representing secrecy. The ancient Moabite word for the turban is imad. The ancient Moabite Arabic word imad comes from the word umi or pronounced meaning mother. So either way you look at it, the turban is related to the woman. The Moabite Moorish men wear the turban as adepts in the ancient mysteries, which all were describing the divinity of the Moorish woman. Thus, when we ascend to the third heaven, we find the password as being spoken in a feminine tone, yet deflected when written as a masculine form to protect the science. The Moorish wear the turban in a Pacific wrap, which generally covers the ears, leaving the earlobes exposed and leaves a V shape in the front, and leaving the area between the eyes, exposed under a pyramid shape, symbolizing an active pineal gland. The Moabite Moorish turban is 3 yards long. The measurements on a standard turban are 108 times 27. Both of these figures equal 9, completion. Thus, only an adept should wear the turban. There are turbans worn that are longer than the 108 times 27. However, these are people whose actions have proven they are the message that they bring by demonstrating being master builders, not by more mere philosophy. The colors are also important, but all Arabs are in tune with color science. Islam.
Islam. Islam. And that goes back to the culture, habits and customs and traditions that we have as a people. Um, so I appreciate that demonstration and habits and customs. Back to this Mayan noble that is Hamitic, Cushitic. So the Mayans come from Ham and Cush, Canaanite characteristics. So we're gonna tie this back in because somebody asked me a couple of days ago, well, why did Noble Drew Ali name the civic organization at the time the Old Canaanite Temple? So that would inspire me to keep reiterating the Cushite, Canaanite. It's all Moorish related, and it shows a genealogy, a lineage. So also, if Mayans and Olmecs are considered Canaanites, Phoenicians, Hammatites, and Cushites, that shows you where the land of Canaan is at, right? The Americas, northwest of Maxim, modern day expressed as that, right? So it's not we got shipped from Africa and brought here. We were already here and spread the culture east. All right, so um I'll see if I have some other. Oh, we talked about this before, but since everybody knows about Tupac, his name, Tupac Amaru, he got that from one of the Moorish warriors of South America. Um, so I like to bring that up when I'm doing my missionary work too. A lot of our quote unquote black people, they look at the rappers as pivotal figures and they look to, they get inspired. So let's let them know that, meet the people where they at. And that'll be eye opener to this Moorish paradigm here. Even the way we tie the scarves, Aunt Mama style, oh, that's Mayan culture. As you can see right here, some more Mayan nobles, the empress with the hair wrap. Ain't nothing changed. You see, actually Buddhist culture in the Mayan culture as well. Um, all referred to as nobles. The Europeans try to make it look like the quote unquote Indians were just running around savage people. No, if they're nobles, then and also there's other books that talk about the Mayans having a royal priesthood, the Olmecs having a royal priesthood. So we're talking about not only government structure, nobility, organization, but you need to know these things to let people know how deep it is. Um, so yeah, this was my space for today. Here's some more. This is actually the Mayan ruins. So when you go to Belize today, um, because those are where the Mayan ruins are in Belize today. It's called Belize. And if you live in LA, it's a big Belizean community out here, melanated people. But if they don't open their mouth, you want to know they're from Central America. You think they were just some black people from here. But it's a step up because the Belizeans out here, the Jamaicans, the quote unquote Ethiopians, are melanated people that have culture. You see they're a little bit more organized, right? They got more businesses, right? They got a little more traditions and culture. They mess with each other. So that's where the culture would take you to organization, industry, traditions. So that's the moral to the story. And these are Mayan high priests.
I want to add something.
Oh, go, you got go.
The story that they put out there of like the whole savage idea when we were talking about the waste beads and things like that and the nobles, it's like they were moving with intention to be able to manifest the things and to really build with each other and organize. So I wanted to put that out there because if it was this whole savage story and things like that, there wouldn't be that kind of intention for the types of things that were happening in ancient times. So I just kind of wanted to make that connection because they were more tapped in spiritually, right, to be able to do those kinds of things. So that's just kind of like what popped into my mind as we're reading through and as you were mentioning those things.
Anybody have any thoughts on this space before we read a verse from the Circle 7 and ultimately close out?
We'll reiterate any updates.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm gonna read a verse from the Circle 7, close out in prayer, and we'll talk about the updates. We got a couple things going on. I'll show you one more thing I wanted to show. But on the Saracen demonstration, just know the Saracens were also known as the people that were fighting against Rome. And I wanted to talk about Queen Khalifa. That's where I wanted to go before I get into the Circle 7. So 45, this is a Q&A. So who is Queen Khalifa? Where California gets its name from? And what is her story to the Americas? Khalifa was a Moabitess, or a matriarch, the spiritual and temporal ruler and law giver to the geographical empire territories now known as California and parts of Nevada. California was named for her. The royal Moorish rulership title her name relates to Khalifa or Caliph. She also proved to be one of the most ardent queen warriors against encroachment by the Europeans into the territories under her rule and protections. She is known to have inflicted many costly victories over European colonial armies. So when you take that and then join it with this, I put in Queen Khalifa at war with Constantine or the Romans, right? Or Byzantine, like in the 101. Cut off the head of Satan, 1453 Byzantine. That's just Rome. It was like a gateway before Rome. And Constantine was the emperor of the Byzantine and the Roman. So Queen Khalifa convinced to raise an army of women warriors and sail away from California with a large flock of trained griffins so that she can join a Muslim battle against Christians who are defending Constantine or Constantinople. The Turks were fighting, right? The Turks, Constantinople. We're trying to shut down Rome, shut down Constantine. Why am I bringing this up? Because she was a Saracen. She was considered a Saracen. I had to tie it all in. I was going to tie this in earlier, but like we read, a Saracen is anybody, or a Saracen was nicknamed by the Romans, and these Romans were going to war with the Saracens, quote unquote Saracens, or the Moors that kept the covenant, the Muslim sultanate type of structure. So Queen Khalifa was one of those as well. I had to get that off. So let's transition to you can read this whole title, this whole chapter in its entirety now. So I'm activating Circle 7, Holy Quran, divinely prepared by Noble Ali. This is chapter 45, the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The key of civilization was and in the hands of the Asiatic nations. the Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, the Egyptians, who were the Hammatites, and of a direct descendant of Mizraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites from the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador, or El Salvador, in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning with Muhammad the First, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universe, God Allah. So this chapter, I feel like put a nice cap on a demonstration today dealing with the Saracens, Sara, how Hagar came about, the Canaanites, the Cushites, is all bullet pointed out and summarized in the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. And everybody here is Moors, no matter what parallel lineage came about after generations. It's all Asiatic. And we all have a covenant with each other, a divine covenant to have a brotherhood and sisterhood, bonds of affection for unity purposes. Let's do one round of thoughts and statements before I close out in prayer, close the meeting out.
Can you remind me again? So when we're looking at the globe, right? Ham and Kush. So which one was Asia Minor and which one was Asia Major?
Asia Major will be the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Asia Minor will be like
So it'd be Kush?
yeah, Kush
Kush
jurisdiction.
was Asia Minor. Right.
Ham's jurisdiction, Asia Major.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's close out in prayer here. Oh, we got a question in the chat. Brother R. Jones Bay.
Islam, Asia Minor being the part of known as Africa, Kush, Asia proper being the central continent of Asia, Asia Major being part of American Islam. If you remember, before Mu got sunken, Mu connected Asia to America. The only thing you see left of Mu is Hawaii. Islam,
Islam. And the brother said something about the land of Mu. So I had to, because this was a part of my demonstration that I forgot about too. Because when we're talking about the Fulani tribe, they worship the cow.
Islam demonstration. Islam, my apologies. Demonstration of Mu would be Lemurians. So you had the war between the Lemurians and the Atlanteans. Atlanteans from Atlantis, Lemurians from Mu. Khalifa was a descendant of the Lemurians.
Islam.
Demonstration is when Lemuria fell, Islam, she started a demonstration in Khalifa territory, which is probably from Alaska, like to Baja parts of Mexico.
Islamism. I don't think I'm gonna find it fast enough.
Can you control F that?
But essentially, no, we tried that last time, it didn't work. Essentially, they worship the cow, but they didn't eat the cow. Yeah, it's gonna take too long for me. I'll cue that up next week. But they worship the cow just like our people in like Hindustan and Pakistan. Like the cow is considered sacred because of the fertility. The cows are fertile, It was connected to an ancient matriarchal system. Um, and the whole move. This on top of the demonstration that R Jones Bay, the whole move was with the sound a cow make. And also when you make that sound, you have a vibration within. Um, when you start getting into like yoga and deep breathing exercises and different vibrations and chants that promote alignment, saying move is also part of that demonstration. So that was my whole point of bringing that up. Um, Somebody got something in the chat. Islam, Hathar from Kemet. Um, so let's close out in prayer here. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Islam, let me turn the recording off. And we have a couple of things that we wanted to talk about.